Nice intro. Nice intro.
What is up, everyone? We have a special Legends Happy Hour today for you guys. We're throwing it back to 2004. We've got Ben Olsen, Nick Rimando, and Ryan Nelsen here. Special group here for you as always. Don't forget that we are live right now on Facebook and Twitter, so make sure as we are having this conversation that you guys are throwing your comments and any questions that you guys have in the chat. So without further ado, how are you all doing?
Brilliant.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
Good.
So good to see Nicky. He still wears hats. Why is he wearing a hat all the time?
Yeah, and he's got great hair. You know, he doesn't need to hide anything.
We're
It's
starting
just
off
he's
like
got
that.
great hair.
I've gone
I thought I
grey.
should be able to put black on, be DC United colors, and now I'm getting stick for it.
Goodness.
Nelly, we all can't look like George Clooney, buddy. You know, we have to cover up our looks every now and then.
What's even worse is he's got a Nick Rimando beer. He's promoting his own beer on the show, isn't he?
No, come on.
Is that right, Nicky?
Here, Nelly.
Well, then you were 2 hours too late then for you. Sorry, Claudia.
No, you guys are good. I love it. Nick, I'm going to start off with you. I was doing my social media stalking, let me say, and, I was looking on your Twitter and, with everything that's going on right now, a big thing has been Black Lives Matter. And I just want to bring that up real quick because you have been very vocal about it on Twitter. And I think it's super important, to bring it up in conversation, and especially you having been so vocal about it. So I just kind of want to hear your thoughts about what's been going on and how it's looking out there where you are right now.
Yeah, it's obviously a huge problem right now. The turn of events that has been happening for a long time. Not this last month or 2 months or last year. It's been happening for a while, and we need change. It's simple. It's simple that we need to start listening, start having the conversation, and start having a voice and being where I am. And a lot of us are right now in this position. We have a platform to speak up, to have our opinion, and to do what's right. And for me, it goes beyond that with having kids in the next generation. And we don't want our kids growing up in a world like this. And for me to go out and to support the Black Lives Matter movement, and have my kids along with me, it's special, and it's beautiful to see so many people come together and peaceful protests, and hopefully we could create change doing that. And in Salt Lake, it's eye-opening. We're a little city, but it's still a big deal. And to see people come together and like I said, have peaceful protests, it's nice to see. And the city wants to be heard.
Yeah.
Well said.
We had a discussion about it last week that Ben was actually a part of. So if you guys are interested in hearing about that, that is on our social media channels. As I said, Ben was a part of it, had a lot to say about his thoughts on the topic. And we also had Bill Hamid there, and he was giving his experiences on it. So Nick, switching over to post-retirement, big thing. How are you holding up? What are you doing? What's been going on since then?
Yeah, new for me is just recovering. I've had a handful of surgeries. Just recently, my rotator cuff and bicep tendon. Had a lot of plans to kind of do a little bit more than we did this year, but 2020 kind of threw some obstacles at us, and those have to be postponed. But just recovering, just spending a lot of time with my family, getting the itch a bit. With soccer not on and MLS and every league, slowly coming back. It's been eye-opening to see how much I miss the sport, and just staying busy, playing with my kids, and enjoying the time off.
Nicky, what do you miss most, man? What's that itch? What do you?
Well, now
what's the itch?
It's finding my own motivation, right? It's every morning it was getting up and you had that goal of Saturday becoming the winning the game and performing in front of the fans, coming together as a team. And there's always that Monday came around and there's a plan. Each plan was different, but so I miss it all, man. I do. do miss the banter. I miss the locker room. I miss that feeling coming to a game. The excitement of getting ready for a game and breaking down your opponents. Miss traveling. But yeah, soon hopefully we retired veterans can see you guys perform and give us something that we could be excited about.
It is crazy, right? Like, because for what, 15, 16, 17 years, you've been told where to go, what to eat, where to train, virtually every day of 16, 17 years of your life. And then all of a sudden that's gone.
Right.
And this amazing freedom is a bit of a wake up as well. It's like, oh my God,
Sure.
It's a bit crazy. Yeah. Weird.
Yeah. That's what I'm having too. And I have to find motivation to be like, okay, yeah, I could watch Netflix all day or be on my couch or you're spot on, Ryan. It's you have this schedule and honestly, I think we could do it without being told just because we've done it for so long. And we knew we trained in the morning. We knew how to prepare on Friday night. We knew we traveled here and pre and post game meals. Like we knew exactly what we were having and we were so dialed in. And now that we're, we don't have that that voice to tell us what to do. It's that freedom is a bit weird, and I was looking forward to it for a while, and now I'm getting kind of bored. I want somebody to come
I'll sign you at minimum salary if you want to come to DC. I'm always intrigued. I always ask that question, and I miss that part, right? Of when I retired, because I instantly became a coach and I had this job, and then I almost instantly again took over the head coaching job. So that void that I think you guys are talking about, I don't know if I was lucky or unlucky to not have that void. I jumped right into coaching in a job that was super, super consuming, and I never had time to miss the game, if that makes sense, or really process kind of the next move. It just kind of happened, and I kind of again filled that void in a different way. So
yeah,
you do a lot of other stuff. Both of you guys are busy. Nikki, I know you have a bunch of investments in restaurants and bars, and you have some successful places there, and you're busy on social media, and I think you'll figure. I think you'll figure it
You'll
out.
be all right, I'd say.
Ryan, now I'm going to ask you how the past year for you has been. I mean, you took part in, you actually showed up to be a part of our kit reveal earlier this year. So we got to see you at Ben's Chili Bowl. But how have you been the past couple years? What have you been up to?
Been good. Like that stuff that Nikki's going through. I'm way out of that now. I'm on the other side. I'm loving my freedom. Yeah, I'm just blown past where Nikki's at right now. So yeah, I'm good. I look down at Betty and just see him just getting older and grayer with the more stress he's having, and yeah. So I'm buzzing.
There's light at the end of the tunnel. There is light at the end of the tunnel.
You'll get there.
Now Ben hasn't gotten away. Ben, you're still in MLS. We've got the tournament coming up in Orlando.
Yeah.
You excited for that? How are you feeling
I am excited. I am excited. We've been back at it with the full squad. We had some individual trainings and then the group trainings, and now finally, last couple of days, we've been training in a normal way and with tackling and passing to each other, and it's been to see the guys and their energy levels and the excitement that they have to be back on the field. It's a joy. It's what these guys love to do. It's what I love to do, and to be back is wonderful. And then it's nice to have in the next couple weeks some games coming, and they're coming quick. In some ways, it's almost too quick before we're actually ready, and the rhythm's there and the fitness is there. But these are unprecedented times. This is and this tournament, I think, is a great idea. I think it's going to be very interesting for the fans to participate in from home and to follow. And it's a nice, it's nice to kickstart the year for us in that way. The team, looks sharp. I mean, we've they're ahead technically. They're ahead physically than I thought they would be after this long layoff. And now the job over the next couple weeks is to get all on the same page. In possession, out of possession, get our structure back, because it's been a while since we've been able to have meetings and kind of discuss who we are and how we're going to go about winning games.
Yeah. I'm looking at Facebook real quick, and I have Christine Jacks who's saying, how is it possible that none of these fellas have aged?
Oh, I've always liked Christine Jackson's style. I've always liked it.
Big fan of it. Big fan.
Christina, have you only got have you seen my gray? It's unbelievable. These two handsome men. Look at them.
Definitely off.
Does she have another question? Could she just keep on going?
I don't, but I have something even better. Monica Nelsen is saying, hello, Dad. Maxie here.
I love it.
At least I've got one person that's actually interested in me. So. And he's only going to give me crap later. So.
So we've got to talk about 2004. Big year, wild year for you guys. Starting in January of 2004, a new coach. You guys get a new coach. I think we lost Ryan, so he'll jump back in. But we start off with a new head coach, Peter Nowak. So Ben, I'm gonna start with you first. That head coach change and how you felt about him.
Peter was, I think, the right guy for the right team, and it was not an easy team to manage. It was that team had more personality, or as much personality as I've ever dealt with, both as a coach and a player. And it's no surprise that we were able to end up winning at the end of the year. And I think because of the character and the profile of these players. And, you go down the list: Mike Pecky, Ernie Stewart, Nick Rimando, Ryan Nelsen, Dema Kovalenko, Aleko Eskandarian. The list just goes on and on of guys that were, of course, highly skilled at their craft, but also highly, highly competitive. And this was a team where on the practice field, competitive. Off the practice field, playing ping pong, competitive. Playing cards, competitive. And it just never stopped. And it was the type of team that it was volatile. There was a lot of that. When you have that much personality in a locker room and you spend that much time with each other, there's a lot of confrontation. There's a lot of, as I said, volatility. And Peter himself was another personality and stubborn at times, and there was clashes, and he, I think, added to the volatility and the competitiveness to this team. And it was a great year. It was a fun year. You had the backdrop of circus that came to the team in that year, and it wasn't smooth sailing, as Nick and Ryan will tell you. We weren't that good for a while. Maybe we were too volatile for the first half of the season, and then, if I remember, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ryan, Nelly, we kind of had a shift about halfway through the season, and we really came together as a group and decided we were all going to work with each other and for each other, and we went on a pretty epic run.
Do you guys remember why that shift happened? Because I was looking, and I believe that you guys had started off the season 5-5-5. Not the strongest way to start a season, but then towards that second half of the season, you guys picked up Gomez in the summer transfer, I believe, and then Freddy Adu, of course, had made his start in April of that year. So do you remember what it was that caused that shift? Was it one particular game where you guys sat down and said, okay, we got to make this change? Or was it just kind of the beginning of the season that just caught up to you guys and you said, all right, something's got to change?
This Christian Gomez was pretty good.
Yeah, he did help, didn't he? We were rubbish.
I think time, we needed a little bit more time. New coach, new players, like Ben said, new personality. We all wanted to still have our own game, but we needed to come together. And I think that any team you go and play with, you need time to kind of feel out people's tendencies and how to play together. And obviously, like Ben said, Peter had a big personality too. I had a love-hate relationship with Peter, and I learned a lot of that. But he also got the best out of me, and he made me want to fight even harder. And Ben brought up being competitive. There was a lot of people on our team that was competitive, and everybody wanted to be in that lineup. And I think once everybody kind of realized that how good we were going to be, it even made us better just to on the training field and competing every single day for a spot. And we clicked at the right time, and there are some bumpy roads, but I think all in all, we had the right personality to kind of get through all those roads.
Nelly, do you remember the team meeting?
Yeah, didn't we have that big meeting, right? Like that, I think there was a couple of fights in training that was pretty constant. We were always one or two a week. Olsen was bloody amongst the middle of most of them. And then we ended up having a real big meeting where everybody just kind of, and having guys like Ernie Stewart and like the older guy, he was great. And to Nicky's point, I think we're just a bunch of personalities kind of doing their own thing. And then all of a sudden we had this meeting and we thought, hang on, like what's going on here kind of thing. Open it out, get all the garbage out, get rid of that, clear path ahead. Let's just roll sleeves up and start winning some games kind of thing. And then all of a sudden that kind of volatility and electricity that we had that was kind of vented elsewhere, it was started to just get all vented onto the field and when it mattered on that weekend. And then we went on a run.
I remember the day Christian Gomez showed up. You guys remember that?
Yeah.
He was terrible.
Awful.
He was terrible. And I remember walking off the field after one training. Mind you, it was summer. It was probably 95 degrees and humid. And he just kind of walking through and lost a lot of balls. And he was trying to make the home run pass and just turnover after turnover. And we walked off the field like, this guy stinks. Why would they buy this guy?
I abused Dave Kessler as I was leaving. I was like, what the hell are you doing? Right. He's useless. He's useless. And he ends up being one of the best players in MLS history.
and then I think it was the next day he was, okay. He was like a little better. We were like, okay, maybe this guy he's okay. He's not gonna hurt us. And then the next day we played 11s and he scored a hat trick. And he didn't lose the ball, and he banged 3 goals, and we were like, yes, that's what I'm talking about. So, certainly didn't want to judge a book by its cover on that first day. But what a lovely player, and what a joy to have a guy like that on the team. And he certainly was a huge part of why we were able to kind of move into that direction. And start clicking a little bit.
He had a long career too. I think recently he just retired, maybe like a year or so ago down in Argentina, if I'm correct.
But 40. The guy played till he was, I think, 40 years old, and his son is with our academy, with the academy, and also plays with Loudon, and he's a lovely, lovely kid. I remember him. You probably remember him when he was, 1 or 2 years old, and now he's playing and just an absolute great kid and a nice player. Plays a little bit like his father.
Nice.
Again, and then the playoffs, right? That obviously was a wonderful experience as well, and Nicky kind of saved the day there against New England, and one of the what I remember is maybe the most memorable game that I've ever played in. It was just such an epic game, back and forth, two great teams, personalities on both squads, super physical, and on the day could have went either way, frankly. Every goal was class. I mean, remember Jaime's goal, and I think Esky scored one.
Jaime went near post, right?
Jaime went near post on Reese cheating, and it was just an epic game.
MLS just replayed that, and you know, being in those games, and you get that feeling of, wow, what a game! Like everything you thought it was going to be, it was, and then you rewatch it, and you're like, man, it's even better. It was even better watching it on TV and seeing it and seeing how physical the game was. I mean, people were flying into each other, goals, going into PKs. Man.
Yeah, there should have been 2 red cards in the first, 5 minutes. And
nine aside, and it's it was fun because that era, you were tough back then, man. You got up. I mean, remember Josh Gross, this kid? Like he would just run through anything. Yeah, it was a fun game to be about. That's the game that comes to mind. Obviously, the final against Kansas City, but that game was special on so many levels.
Hang on, Nicky. Nicky, can I just tell you about that greatest game in MLS history, one of the best semifinals? I didn't play that game because Benny gave me a 50-50 pass against New York in the previous one. When we're up about 6-0, he gives me a 50-50 against one of their big, gigantic dudes, and I have to smash him. I get a yellow card, suspended. This guy goes, oh yeah, sorry, Nelly, and just starts sprinting out the right wing because you know how he runs around everywhere. And I'm suspended for the best game ever. Thanks. Thanks.
Well, this is what I was doing. Let's be honest. This is what I was doing. I think it would, if we'd have had you, it wouldn't have been the best game ever. We would have won easily. We never gave up that many goals if you were in. So I thought that we should make this thing interesting against them. I tell this story all the time when people ask me about that game, and it was the only game, and I don't know if you guys ever had this, where it was the only game in my career where I was super appreciative of the moment. I was almost looking down on that game, and I was so appreciative that I was on that field that night and could kind of comprehend what a great game this was in the moment. I've never been able to do that. And sometimes as a coach, I get that feeling like, wow, this is a great game. I'm very lucky to be a part of this. As a player, that was the only game that I had that feeling. Matt Reese picked me up. I was cramping. I was running around like an idiot, and I was cramping in front of the goal, and the play went the other way, and he's picking me up and saying, get back out there, Ben. An opposing, I think everyone kind of felt that in that game, that it was a unique sporting event.
Well, like you said, and we had a great team. We had great personalities, but New England, I mean, off the field, we were friends with majority of them. If it was through national team camps or just kind of playing against each other on other teams. And they were just as good as us. I mean, you had Twellman, Ralston, Shawry. And to imagine that team never won an MLS Cup, as long as that team has been together and, got to so many finals. And like you said, I don't know if I was in the moment and felt that. I think I was just in awe going to my first MLS Cup and living that moment, just to be in that spotlight with you guys was really cool experience for me. And I think I remember after saving that last PK, I knew that the MLS Cup was going to be in California. And so I was just so stoked to be there with my friends and family and to play that game there. So, that was a cool time.
Now, Nick had to make that big stop because the first person to take a PK, Ben, you know where I'm going with this. Ben steps up, takes the PK.
Oops. Again, it comes back to just not wanting to, it was, give the people what they want. I knew Nicky was back there, and I didn't want this thing to go quickly, and So I knew the big fella was in the back, and as long as we got two,
well,
we were
I
good.
mean, side note, I think, I mean, I've told it a couple of times, but Ryan is the one who told me his little trick that his buddy had for PKs. Do you remember that, Ryan?
Yeah. No, I just made that up, by the way. No, it is actually real. It is real.
So Ryan's a big deal, and he wanted to go to that MLS. He wanted to play one more game that season, so he let.
So now, Nikki, now that you're retired, can you give your secret up? Could you kind of give the young keepers of the world why you were the best PK shot stopper in maybe the world?
Well, listen, it's not all Nelly here, is it? I mean, he gave you a little.
Well, I think it is. I think it is.
Let's be honest. That game, it worked out, but yeah. I'm sure there's ways every goalkeeper prepares themselves for a PK.
All right, then Nelly, can you tell me what you told him?
We had this old Scottish coach from Rimando, and he used to say, when you put the ball down on the spot, if the hands are really more pointing to the right, they generally go to the right. If it's more to the center, they generally go that way. It's a subliminal thing that happens in your mind. That's what he told me. It could be full of rubbish, like you know. I don't know. But it sounded cool.
Yeah. Do you remember telling me that though before?
Totally. I used to tell it to everybody. Yeah, all the goalkeepers, and none of them listened to me.
Nikki, did we do a lot of film? Did you kind of, nowadays, right, when you're going to a shootout, you know the players' last 15 kicks because of the footage that we have in the computer systems.
No,
did you know?
Wasn't really, we didn't have a lot of that. I mean, if I recall, I mean, from what we have, now, I mean, you're getting PKs when they were playing in Lanús, like there's you have, which I didn't like. I didn't like to see bulk, because then it mixes me up in my head and like, okay, he's going right, left 5 times, 10 times. I like to see very minimum and more so their tendencies, not where they go so much every single time, but their approach, their tendencies when they maybe a shorter approach or a longer approach. And obviously Ryan's, I always put that in the back of my head. Every single PK, I put that in the back of my head. And if he certainly went like this, if my gut told me, I was definitely going that way. And I would say 60 to 70% of the time, it was spot on.
I wish you would have told me that, Nelly. Maybe Reese was.
Nicky would have never got any. He would have got nothing the year before, because Risto was watching Barcelona games the whole time on the TV that we had. Remember? There's always Risto's Barcelona games.
Risto in his robe. Risto Stoikov used to. He's going to kill me if I tell him story. He'll be okay. He'll be okay. But he'll come. He had a lovely robe, and he would walk around the locker room in a robe, and he'd sit and he'd watch Barcelona highlights. And this is one of the greatest players of all times. And he's in our locker room. He plays for us, and we're young. A lot of us don't even know that he's one of the best players in the world. And he's sitting there on the couch watching his own highlights. And he's bringing over young players. He goes, "Hey, stupid, get over here. Watch this. Hey, you, come here, sit, watch this." And he's just bringing the guys over to make sure they see. And then you'd watch the highlights. You'd be like, "Oh my goodness, this is the greatest highlight tape I've ever seen."
And it was always you and me, Benny. It was always I think we were the most stupid. So anyways,
he's the best. He is the best. To be fair, it was, again, the most epic highlight reel I've ever seen in my life.
Had some of those highlights.
Unbelievable.
He's a great teammate.
Up from 40 out, and I'm like, "What are you doing?" And he would just bury it off the upright or in, and it was just like, okay, he was lethal.
He'll be calling in here in a second. What else you got for us, Claudia?
Well, we got to talk about that final. All of you guys were able to play. Ryan, Ben didn't do anything to mess up your chances to play in the final. So very hot day. You guys are in California. I've got a question actually to lead this off from Facebook. Rick Allen asked, real talk, did Esky handle in the final? Did he score on a handball in the final?
No chance.
No. He handled the trophy.
Like, he's got tiny arms. Have you ever seen Aleko's like he's like a crocodile. Like how can you even hit those arms?
It's virtually impossible for him to have a handball.
Yeah, it's impossible.
Yeah.
So that settles that. That's a definite.
It was more,
and
he was quite, sturdy around the midsection as well. I would say so. It could have been a love handle or it could have been an arm. Half an arm. I don't know.
The final didn't exactly start out the way we wanted it. I know. I think gave up a bit of a blunder in the.
You got banged on.
It
you
was
got
definitely
banged
from distance, and I think I got some stick from that. But
It was
I
from
actually
about
let that one go through.
just over half field.
it was.
I actually let that one go through because I was like, Nicky's just going to trap this.
So I was,
Nicky's just gonna control
man,
all this
and
stuff
that was in my
play it out.
hometown in front of my friends and family, and it was like, it was going to be a long one. But Esky handball helped us out.
The last what 20? How much was what was left when Esky or when Dema got kicked out? 20 minutes left. What do we have to kill off?
About 3 hours, it felt.
I was just gonna say that was a long 20 minutes, and there was a couple plays there. I watched it back in the last year or two, and they had a couple looks. I know Josh and Davey Arnaud, and there were a couple really good looks that either Nicky smothered or they kind of didn't do real well with. So it was a great night. We had a lot of support there in the end zone. I remember a great turnout there, especially for going out west, and it was a special team, and I wasn't surprised that in the end that type of team raised the trophy. We had a heck of a party afterwards. You guys remember that down in?
Oh yeah.
Nicky, you would know the name of that place. What was
the Marriott? Was it? It was the hotel. It was the hotel next. Oh wait, the party after the party.
He's been to too many final parties, I think.
Yeah, we all we didn't win as many as you, buddy.
No, DC did well. They set up a nice party for us at a hotel lobby, right? Not the lobby, but a private room.
Kevin Payne came out with us, and it was great. Fun night.
The bus driver to take us downtown Hermosa Beach, was it?
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Remember?
Look at this, Nelly. Look at that guy.
Oh, that's an awesome one.
That's a good one, huh? Look at old Pecky earning.
I had the old curtains back then.
Yeah, how wasn't Santino brought up at all during this conversation? The 2004 team.
Oh yeah. Wow. Probably because his kids watching. But can you guys remember? I can remember when we won the trophy, and I can't remember the kid's name, which is really bad. But I remember about to lift up the trophy, and then these little hands come up right beside and grab the trophy. There he goes. There's
Nana.
Yeah.
That's right.
How he pushed himself to the front there. Good on him.
Mr. Gomez is in there. That's great.
That's quality. Oh, Nana, he was awesome. He was one of your favorites, Ben.
Yeah,
was
great.
Alicio on that team as well, right?
Alicio.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah. It was a neat bunch. It was a neat bunch.
Centino to me, though, back to your point, Nick, was one of, I don't know if you but one of the most talented strikers that played. He had everything. Like he could have gone on to a serious high level. In my humble opinion, I thought he was such a good player.
There he was.
Yeah.
He was. And Eski was just playing so well that year. Eskandarian, he had such a good year, and we also had Jaime on the team.
Not bad.
Maybe the best player the league has ever seen. What a joy to play. Think about it. Him and Christian Gomez in the attack, and Eskandarian playing at a high level. Ernie Stewart over there on the right. Josh Gross running up and down. A good back line, experienced, competitive guys, and Nelly and Prideaux, Namath, Pecky. Yeah, it was just it was a team built to win, and in different ways, right? I think we could slug it out with you. We could beat you up and fight with you, but we also had a lot of soccer to us as well, and I think we could kind of win games in different ways. And I find that that's always having an adaptive group, an experienced group to go about winning in different ways is always a recipe for success, especially in our league, whether it's the summer and the seasonal change and the travel. You can't play the same way every week, and that team had a good mix of people in there.
I know you did right, Benny.
I just remember us being confident. We were very confident and having people hold each other accountable. I mean, I remember Nelly always getting on people's backs, and you need at least 1, 2, 3 guys on each team to hold someone accountable. And we had more than that. We had guys expecting more from players, even when they gave them their best. They wanted the best from every player on that team. When I think of that team, I think of confidence, and I think of players not giving a shit who you were and telling you when you need to get back or when you need to defend or where to be on positions, and that wasn't just in the game; it was in trainings, and it was eye-opening to me because I was relatively new in the league, and it was fun to be a part and knew that that's what it takes to win championships, to have that kind of personality and bite to yourself.
I don't know what you're talking about. I was the biggest softie on the whole team. I was.
Not true.
I was the nicest guy ever, and you guys were just horrible. I was the nicest guy. I don't know where you guys go.
That's not true. Ernie was the nice guy. We used to call Ernie Stewart the judge because if there was any real issue in the locker room and you just disagreed, whether it was a trivia or anything, he was like, go to Ernie. And you'd have to go in front of the judge, and he'd make a ruling, and you just have to live with that.
Yeah.
And we would compete on the way to. If
it was Ernie Stewart and his smiles,
I'd lose $100. It was the type of team where Dema Kovalenko would win several $100,000 on the way to training because he was gambling and competing. He bet that he could throw his shoes further than you. So there was just a culture of competing all the time.
Yeah.
He took a medicine ball and headed it against the wall. How many times? He said, "I'll do it." He used to take the poor rookies' money. He'd take all their money. They weren't making that much, but he'd kill them. He'd say, I'll take this medicine ball and I'll head it 100 times on the wall. Or I'll hold a bridge for 2 minutes. And sure enough, he made thousands of dollars that year.
Remember Eski paying him in all pennies? He won like $100 in $100 of pennies? Oh, I thought he was going to kill him.
I don't remember that.
I thought he was going to kill him.
I don't. Any questions there, Claudia, from the crew?
We've got, this isn't a question, but I have Kim Kolb on Facebook that's saying we renamed, I might say this wrong, Redondo Beach to Rimando Beach at MLS Cup.
Yeah.
There we go.
There we go.
There we go.
I've got another question from Michael on Facebook that's saying all three of these players were on the team in 2004 when Freddy Adu joined the squad. Was the attention he received a distraction?
Yes, I'll say it because, 100% it was. It was shocking. It was nothing to do with Freddie, but it was the league had got something that they could really sell, right? And oh my God, some of the stories they're phenomenal, right? I was talking to Benny about it. One time, can you remember this, Nick? We were training, I think we were down in Florida, and Michael Johnson, the Olympic sprinter, turns up, and they stopped training, and then Freddie would leave training to get one-on-one sprint training with the fastest man on earth, whilst us idiots have to keep training and keep running around. Well, that's happening. It was phenomenal. Some of the stuff. To Benny's point, he got an advertisement with Pele. Who does that to a 14-year-old?
There was a lot put on his shoulders. It wasn't Freddie's fault. Freddie definitely went.
Not at all.
Freddie went with it though, but it wasn't his fault. But yeah, there was definitely some eye-dropping going on that year with some of the things that went on.
Did it?
Yeah, I ran over an autograph. I don't know what Nelly's talking about. I wanted Michael Johnson's autograph.
Did it kind of distract you guys from the season or distract the team from the season, or it was just kind of like that outside talk?
And you guys can answer this yourself. For me, it wasn't a distraction. I kind of, I think the character of the group was so strong. Again, I go back to that. That wasn't going to, we weren't going to let that kind of blow up our team of this 14-year-old, what's going on? He makes more money than us and all this attention. I think we were just all too secure in who we were and what we were there to do. I think every now and then maybe it boiled up and you'd get him at practice, right? Or you when he was maybe acting a little bit big for his britches at 14, 15, you put him in his place, but no different than any other young guy. And I will also say, playing in front of 50,000 instead of 15,000 sometimes was nice. And, some of the exposure of people coming to trainings and going to away games and those crowds are big and the hype of it, I always kind of enjoyed a little bit. And, in the end, yeah, was he set up to fail a little bit? I don't know. I think it's a really interesting, fascinating debate on, Freddie, and that's another conversation, I think. But it was interesting. He had an okay year. He actually he scored some goals, and he was kind of an impactful player for us.
Well, I think a lot of it too was out of our control. Whether he was doing an appearance after a game, before a game, he was going to do an appearance, and whatever we said, nothing was going to stop it. And then, like Ben said, I think we all were okay with ourselves and okay with where the team was. And Freddie was, when he did act up or did act like a 14-year-old, he was okay being told not to do it or slapping him on his hand, whatever you wanted to do. He was fine with it, and he was just being a 14-year-old kid. And we were fine where we were at. And it was out of our control, honestly, if he had to do commercials or appearances or whatever it was.
Now talking about another. Oh, keep going. Sorry.
No. Yeah, I think you guys summed it up really well. I personally, I loved it, right? Because it just created another weird situation to a weird group of bunch of guys. So it was kind of cool. It was pretty awesome. But looking back in hindsight, gee whiz, you'd never do like that again. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And it wouldn't, right? It would never. If someone asked me, have you learned any lessons from that time with Freddy Adu? And it's such a different landscape now. Yeah. So you can't even take the lessons then to now, right? As there's phenoms all over the world. There's phenoms all over Canada and phenoms all over America now, and they all have a better infrastructure to build their careers. Freddie skipped a couple of those steps because those steps didn't exist for a 14-year-old, right? There wasn't a good 16-year-old or an 18-year-old academy team that he could kind of cut his teeth in. It was just, you turn pro, you skip all these, you skip this void and get right into the pros. So it was, you're spot on with that, Nelly. He was just another layer to such a wild group, and coached by, again, a really fascinating, interesting coach who was charismatic, and man, it was a good part.
I'm going to ask about another one of your teammates, Ezra Hendrickson. Can you guys, I mean, having him as a teammate, tall defender out there in the back, can you guys tell me about having him on the team in 2004?
I'll bring up a story just real quick. Do you guys remember going to that dinner before the game, and Ezra sitting up and giving a speech about, man, you never know when you're going to get in this position again, never going to be in a championship, and he gave a pretty powerful speech, and that's what I remember most. Obviously, he was a great player and helped our team a lot coming in on the defensive side, but that speech, I think, really took our team over the edge a little bit into that final, and I always remembered that.
Yeah,
I get chills thinking about that speech. It was a great speach, and he had just, I think he won a championship or had just lost one. And he was kind of, maybe they lost one. Was that right?
Something like that, right?
Yeah.
Do you remember now?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, but what a phenomenal man, though. I can remember having a bit of a man crush on him, like when I was on the team, because he's just beautiful, long and lanky, and he spoke so well. And I had a bit of a man crush on him, I'll admit.
He was another, kind of peaceful warrior for us, and a guy that at least was one guy that wasn't a basket case on that team, right? It was nice to have one normal guy that could. He must have thought, I'd love to have Ezra on here. He must have been, this team is nuts. He probably tried to get traded like 10 times behind our back. He's like, get me out of here.
Do you guys, it seems like this was a wild group, I guess. Do you guys have any traveling stories or any other training stories that you guys can share with everyone that's listening from that year? Any funny stories, any wild things that happened?
I can remember one story that I think Benny was there, and I'm only going to say it with Nick, because it was Nick, and we're away somewhere, and we're at.
Start that over. I lost you, Nelly. Start that over.
Oh, it's right. Like it's one of these ones that we're lining up in to go to a nightclub. I think it was away somewhere, and Nick used to take all this protein or that, because he's when he takes it, he's beef. He's a strong guy.
Me?
And all of a sudden, you used to take all this protein type stuff, like those bars and all that. And there was a queue of about 150 lining up to this club. And all of a sudden, this guy drops his lunchbox so bad that literally scattered 150 people in the lineup. And we got to the front of the queue straight away. I've never been so proud of Nick in my life. Saving penalties.
Okay.
Saving penalties and winning championships. Yeah. But he got us to the front of that nightclub as quick as I've ever seen.
Because
ever. Yeah. It was there, exactly.
Yeah, okay. There it is.
Because of why? I wasn't there. I never went out.
You were there. You were instigating it.
Yeah, I wouldn't blame my toots on the protein shakes. It comes naturally.
Okay.
It's healthy.
It is. Do you remember this? Do you remember the salmon story with Dema, where he got food poisoning? Do you remember that?
And
Yeah, Kansas City.
Dema was like,
He
how do you
ate
eat-
lox
how
for
do you eat
breakfast.
fresh fish in Kansas City? There's not even an ocean here.
Yeah, Dema had for breakfast. I think he went with the old lox and bagels, and he got food poisoning from it. And he couldn't play in the game, but he was in the locker room, like, white as can be. Just couldn't play, and we lost. And it wasn't a good loss. I think it was just a bad loss. And we came in, and Peter just looked around, and he needed to get his frustration out, and he just ripped Dema for eating salmon that morning. You ever eat salmon in the morning? This is crazy. They don't even have ocean here. This is not fresh. This is not a professional thing. And Dema and him had a really good. They played together at Chicago, and Dema was almost like part. It was paternal. So every now and then, Peter knew he could just go after Dema, and Dema could take it. And Dema at times would come back and kind of a Polish Russian language that they would only speak. They were. I remember that story.
I can remember
that. That was a normal.
I can remember that, mate, because being the captain, I obviously had to reinforce the coach's, what he's saying. So I was like cursing the salmon as well, going, Dema, you're an idiot for having salmon. But I had salmon as well, the same salmon. Knowing that Dema knew that I had the salmon, so it just makes him even worse, makes him even madder. And then just steam coming out of his head, it's just brilliant. But that's how you lead the real ways, these positive kind of stuff. You have to,
just double down.
Double down.
And Dema is the one that got the red card in the MLS Cup Final. Is that correct?
Yeah, and who lost their man on the corner for the header to hit the crossbar?
You?
Yeah. Lost their man.
How'd you lose?
Guys, a free header.
He went behind
your shoulders.
We were, how'd he lose? You behind or you went in front? I don't remember.
I think I was yelling at somebody at the stage. I was yelling at like 2 or 3 of our players, and then I just completely forgot what I was doing. And the guy just walked. Well, I think he just walked past me actually, and then hit it onto the crossbar. Guy follows it through. Should have been a goal. Dema saves it off line. Unfortunately, gets red carded, and then I yell at Dema, what are you doing? Concentrate. It's crap. It's not good enough. As he's getting red card. So yeah.
You're a wonderful leader, Nelly. It worked. Whatever you did that year worked.
I wouldn't last 5 minutes these days.
Nelly, you know what I wanted to ask you? I've heard you say this before, and you had such an unbelievable career in the best league in the world, in the Premiership, but you always have a kind of a fondness for the MLS because of the MLS Cup, being able to win something at the end of the season, as opposed to finishing 16th, 17th. And I know a lot of people kind of think the opposite. It's like it's so American that you guys have a cup, and it's not the supporter sheet or just a straight table. Can you speak on that? Do you still feel that way? Or?
Yeah, it's unbelievable actually. It's still to me probably one of the best memories I've ever had playing. And I've been lucky enough to play against some of the best and in some of the best stadiums and some of the best competitions in the world. But that still is just one of my highlights, winning that cup. And it's more with the guys around, with all you guys and with the DC United family we were a family because we were so messed up in a way, but we loved each other, and you don't get that when you go. The higher you kind of get, it's a job. It is tough, and everybody in the world wants your job. Where they were recruiting guys off the street to play for DC United at one stage, but it's Well, back then they were, but it was still one of the funnest years. One of the most fondest memories I could possibly have, compared to going over to England and where the pressure's just relentless. Where here, there's this beautiful naivety, a beautiful innocence back then that we just all got along. We all kind of, we all wanted each other to succeed. Where over there, it's just not like that. People want you to fail so they can take your spot, or people want you to lose because you're playing, not them, or whatever. There's so much politics, and the finances are different. Where here with MLS, it is just a way more. It's a league set up to really enjoy your football, and you can always win, and that's amazing. Every team this year thinks they can win, and that's so exciting.
I think
and going into Blackburn, you knew you probably weren't going to win the Premiership. The goal was different than winning something, right?
38 points. Get to 38 points is the key. Survival. And if you can get to 38 points, then anything's a bonus. But then when I moved to Tottenham, it was completely different. The mentality was, if you do not win, you have completely failed. And the pressure was completely the opposite way, which was just as bad. But if you do not win and do not win right, it is a complete failure. So it's really interesting, the different kind of.
It's nice that you experience both of those, right? The don't get relegated mentality, and I need to be in the top 3, top 4 for Champions League.
Right? Exactly. A draw at home to Chelsea is not actually good enough. Like, where a draw at Chelsea, we're doing naked cartwheels in the locker room for breakfast.
It's kids watching now. Nobody wants to picture you doing naked cartwheels.
Nobody's doing naked cartwheels, just regular cartwheels.
Your son's watching this, for Pete's sake. Your wife.
Right, Nelly. You mentioned how close our team was in that final run. Man, we were I feel like more together off the field than we were together on the field during trainings. I mean, we were always at each other's houses or having coffees or at the bar hanging out with our missuses, and I mean, both teams that I was lucky enough to win the cup, I felt the locker room was the same. Always hanging out, always wanted that teammate to succeed, even if he was in your position. It was this sense of I don't know the word, but there was always this sense of everybody wanted the best for each other, and I got that from this 2014. I had that in 2009 when we won with Real Salt Lake, and it goes a long way when your locker room is tight and you really care for each other.
I think it's changed. That was a different time. There were smaller teams, right? And everybody was kind of in the same area salary-wise. And so as this league progresses and the money starts to come in and the exposure and how global it's becoming, I think that will be more rare to find something along that lines. And I've been lucky enough to play for some teams that have had that. So, I think about it and how I can create the culture here on my team, even though we're expanding and the money's bigger. And there's a kid from Estonia and Argentina, and how can we bring them in? And you lose focus of that, and it's an important thing for a coach and an organization to remember, because ultimately you don't, creating some type of family culture, I do think really helps you look after each other and ultimately win games. But it's definitely changing a little bit.
Yeah, and football, it's always evolving, right? So it's always moving forward, it's always moving upwards. So even if you take what happened 1, 2, 3, 5, 7 seasons ago, you're still behind the trajectory. So sure, you take the positives and you're learning, but you've always got to try, in my opinion, stay ahead of the trajectory, because everybody's getting better. Every team gets better. Everybody's trying to improve. So the only way is forward and up. So it's
if you're staying still in tactics or players and talent level is especially in our league as it starts to move in any league, right? Yeah, you don't want to stay still. Everybody's moving at a pretty good clip, and it's everything. Right? It's data, it's science, it's sports science. It's you can go on, and that's kind of the dynamics of it all right now, and that's kind of the fun of it.
Yeah, who'd be a head coach, Nicky? Who the hell would do that job?
Well, there's no hiding, right? You can't hide anymore. Yeah, the number.
No hiding.
and he's a small guy; he can hide. But,
yeah. On the bench.
I'm going to wrap this up. I've got one more question from Facebook. I have Mike that asked, all three of you played for Ray Hudson. Maybe not the best coach, but amazing personality. What's your favorite Ray Hudson quote?
Oh.
Nicky had 2 stints with the Ray Hudsons. So do you have any good Ray Hudson stories from Miami or
I had to say
DC?
One time, and I didn't want the quote to be about me, but I remember it because my mom called me the next morning and read me this quote, and he said I was like a cat on a hot tin roof that day. that was the quote I always remember. So I guess I did all right. Do you remember any?
I've got one where remember Ivan McKinley?
Oh yeah.
Ivan McKinley was a South African player. He played for DC for a bit. Played down in Miami with Nicky. And one time he came to training. I don't think he even mind. He was pretty hungover, and I think it was down in Miami. But Ray, I love this story about Ray. And he walks back and he trips over a bag of balls and he lands in the bag of balls and gets all caught up like a fish in a net. So he's stuck in his bag of balls, and he's a bit. I think he's probably had a wee bit, had a few too many still, and he gets sent home from Ray Hudson, and then the next morning he puts Ivy into his office and he goes, right, no more. That's outrageous. No more. You can't do that at all. You're a professional. You just cannot do that again. And Ivan's like, sorry, boss. And as he's walking out, Ray goes, hey, but I don't want you to start drinking milk now. Who says that?
He was great.
His halftime speeches were they were epic. I mean, they were just, man, he was so energized, and he would come at you and so passionate, and he was always drinking Pepsis, right? He was just slugging down. He must have had a 6-pack of Pepsis throughout, from the start of the game to the end, and so he's all caffeinated up, and he's doing his feet, and he'd spit, and he starts speaking again, and right on the locker room floor, and he'd spit again because he couldn't get enough saliva to talk. And he's a special guy, and I love, we all feel lucky to kind of cross paths with him, and he's one of the great characters in this game. And turning him on the television and listening to a game, there's nothing like it.
Yeah.
He just still loves the game so much and has a way of talking like nobody else.
Yeah. I owe a lot. He gave me my chance. He was one of my first coaches when I was in Miami. Ivo Wortman got fired. He was in the stand. He was commentating games, and the next day he's on our pitch and he's our head coach. And like you said, he wore those real tiny shorts, the socks that probably the elastic came out on him a little bit 10 years ago or so with his soccer shoes and his white polo. But
you guys had a lot of success under him. He did a great job there, and you had a pretty impressive team.
We had a lot of, veterans on the team that did. Rooney, Pablo, Leo, Preki, Ian Big. So we had some players, and he was great with us, man. He's exactly what we needed. A sense of freshness, someone that gave us freedom. but also let everybody play their football. And he was so expressive about letting people like express themselves on the field and go forward. And he was fun to play for. And I think DC got a little bit of that. And I feel like he was definitely a player's coach. Probably didn't win a lot of trophies for a reason, but man, was he fun to play with.
Yeah.
Well, Ray Hudson shout out. Great. It's a great way to end it.
Good man.
Before I say goodbye, Nick and Ryan, I don't know if you noticed, but Ben joined Instagram recently.
Do we know it? Yeah. He's been telling everybody. It's embarrassing. He's like a socialite. It's like Kim Kardashian. God.
Yeah, it won't be there for long. Don't worry. I'll be shutting it down after the first game. After the first game, it'll be shut down. Don't worry. This is during the time of COVID, and then yeah. Anyways, okay. Well, thank you everyone for coming. Claudia, Nikki, love you guys. Ryan, Nelly, Nikki, good seeing you. Hi to the families. Thanks for coming on. Thank you, Claudia, for doing this.
Thank you guys for joining us, and thank you to everyone who tuned in. Bye, guys.